And we're on. So have you guys ever been in a situation where the women in your life have consistently encouraged you to put your guard down? Just trust us. We want you to open up. We want me to talk to you. Honey, I know you've had a long day. Just talk and open up. We know something's bothering you. I want you to think of me as a shoulder to cry on. So just be vulnerable with me. Cry. And then you do. And then she loses respect for you as a man. And she pulls away from you. And you wonder why. Because you're doing exactly what she wanted you to do. Be vulnerable and cry. And using her as a shoulder to cry on. No! Don't do that. Don't do that. And that's what we're talking about in this video. Attraction tips for men. Weakness and vulnerability in a man is not attractive. Get that out of your head. It's not attractive. And it's going to ruin any kind of dating option, marriage, or relationship you think you have. Number one rule. Your wife, girlfriend, is not your shoulder to cry on. Don't make her that. As a man, you need to lead. You need to lead the relationship. Why? Well, there's an evolutionary reason for that. Back 10,000 years ago, if men were to consistently act weak and act vulnerable and put their guard down when they're trying to protect their family from the other tribe, what would happen? That tribe would kill the man and take their wife and take their children. That's why, evolutionary speaking, why women aren't attracted to weakness and vulnerability in a man. It can be attractive in the right context. In general, no, it's not attractive. I'll give you an example, though, of the right context. If you're a husband or your father and you're going to, let's say, a school activity for your son or your daughter and you're watching them perform, let's say for example, it's a talent show, and you see them perform and everyone claps and they're really proud of your son or daughter's accomplishment, and you shed a little tear out of pride, out of joy, because you're so proud of your son or daughter's accomplishment, that's okay. That's fine. If you're shedding a tear because your dog died, or you're at your mother or father's funeral and your family's there with you, that's okay. That's fine. That kind of vulnerability and weakness, that's endearing. That's fine. But if you're kind of the man who, having a long day, you're stressed out, and you go to work and you go home and you use your wife and your children as a shoulder to cry on to talk about your problems, then that's not what they're there for. That's not their job, and that's not their role. Don't make it them. You have male friends, or hopefully you have male friends that you trust and that you rely on to do that. Do not use your wife, do not use your girlfriend, women you're dating, or your children as a shoulder to cry on. That's not their job, not their role. Like, what happens if you get into that habit? What happens if you get into that routine of complaining all the time and using your shoulder to cry on and talk, and allowing your wife or your girlfriend to convince you that that's okay to be weak? So you be weak. You don't do the things you need to get done. You're not leading your family. You're not protecting your family. You're not doing the things you got to do. You're complaining all the time. What happens? They're going to lose respect for you. They're not going to look at you as the man they need you to be. So they're going to go look for someone else, for another guy that can protect them, that can provide. That's there for parental investment, for security, for provisioning, and all that. And unfortunately, it starts at a very young age, where men in their teens get conditioned by our society, by our social culture, it gets ingrained into our head by TV, by media. And you see it in all our movies all the time. You see it in like romance comedy movies all the time, where the guy's the guy really proves his love to the girl, really proves himself to her, and like be vulnerable, and like you see it in every single Adam Sandler movie. An Adam Sandler movie, he just meets the girl, and his journey of pursuing her and consistently not giving up on her, and being vulnerable with her, and he finally gets her in the end. Why? Because he let his guard down and he was vulnerable. Talked about all his problems, talked about all his insecurities, and finally won her over. In real life, that doesn't win women over. It causes them to run away. I knew someone in my past who, like, he would date girls in the beginning, and he'd be fine. But his mindset was always, oh, I'll date them for a while, but at least after a month or two, I start to build trust in them, and then I can start feel like I can open up and talk to them about my problems. And then after a month or two of starting to do that, the relationship would just fall apart. And then he'd wonder why. Why? Because he was using that as a destination. Yes, I finally trust her. I finally feel I can open up to her. Now I can talk to her about all my problems. No, that should not be an emotional destination for you when you're dating someone. That's not the role. And that's why all those dating situations just blew up in his face. Because when you do that, women will look at you like, oh, he's not the guy I thought he was. It's your job as the man to solve those problems on your own. Or use friends, use family, people that you can trust. Not in the dating world. Don't do that. It's not their job, and that's not your role. It's your job as a man. It's your responsibility to solve whatever emotional issue, whatever insecurity you have. Do the work on yourself. Work on yourself. Do what you have to do to figure it out. Go see a psychologist, therapist, talk to people, but don't use the women that you're dating in life for that to solve your problems, because they don't care. It's not what they're there for. That's not the role they play. They're not genetically programmed to solve a man's problems. Women have a protective instinct for children. Men have a protective instinct for women and for children. Women don't have a protective instinct for men. They don't. So when a man sees a woman or a child crying, we instinctively react. Our instinctive reaction is to run to them and go save them, go rescue them. Women have that towards children, but not towards men. When they see a man, when a woman passes a man on the street and he's crying in the street and crying, and he's asking for help and pleading with her, what's a woman's reaction? It's revulsion. Ugh, ew, no, wants to run away. She doesn't, no. Women, they're not attractive to a vulnerable man, a weak man. That's not their job. That is not their role to do that. We can do that. We have different roles. Men and women have different attraction cues. And that's where a lot of people go wrong, is like, okay, it's all right, we're equal. So she can share with me, I can share with her, because we're on an equal basis, we're on an equal relationship. No, because we emotionally react to different things. From evolutionary psychology, we react differently to different things. We have different emotional attraction cues. That's the problem. Because men and women, our brains are the same. No, it's not the same. At all. And at this point, I feel like we should already have figured that out. We should know that. When you approach a dating situation, you approach a dating situation on thinking, oh, we're on an equal basis. You're not on an equal basis. Because you're a man, she's a woman. We're different. We're both human beings, but we're different. We're complements. That's the way it works. Once you've accepted that we're not equal, and we both emotionally respond to different things, it's a lot and understand what we respond to, and understand as men what to do, what not to do to engage her emotions and engage her attraction into you. It's so much easier. It's so much easier. And you get so much more of a peace of mind from that, to know that you are the man. It is your job to maintain strength, to maintain leadership. And don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And on that note, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you like this video, smash like, subscribe, all that. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Logan Ryder at Timeless Personal Growth and Development, and I will see you all in another video. Have a good one.